The biggest surprise hit gets its final release as the year draws to a close and becomes our final performance review of 2023. Is it ready to leave the dungeon on Xbox?
Did you feel that? You've got the same thing I do. In your head.
Our third look at the game pits the Xbox Series X against the PS5 and how condensed it is on the Series S. The delay was very public, with Larian struggling with the memory constraints on the Series S, and Microsoft granted an exception to offer reduced features on the smaller console. They have managed to squeeze most of it in. Split screen was the main hurdle, and this has been cut as expected on the Series S. It remains on Series X as per PS5 and PC. Now, the Series S has a single 30fps mode, and this targets a flat 1080p via their own engine's TAA. Alongside other tweaks, it is a similar but clearly softer image. Series X offers the same modes and settings as PlayStation 5, a 1440p 30fps quality mode, likely using TAA as it is a native pixel match, or a 60fps performance mode that relies on AMD's FSR2 as we surmised in our PlayStation 5 review. Now improved on both consoles with an increased 1080p base reconstructed back to 2560 by 1440. This is most likely dynamic, with the old 960 being possible, but only 1080p counts found on both consoles. The modes only differ with a slightly lower depth of field in performance mode and reduced shadow filtering and resolution. The PlayStation 5 also appears to lack tessellation on the ground via a height map possibly. This is present on Series X and Series S, likely an API bug, as we also see some colour tones, skybox and even texture differences between PlayStation and Series X and S consoles. Texture filtering and textures overall are much better on PlayStation 5, and oddly, both consoles have lower texture quality and filtering in their quality modes, which is most likely a result of no FSR sharpening being present, which can at times provide better image quality in performance than quality mode. All formats can struggle to load bitmaps quickly, with Series S being the worst, and the improved details and filtering on PlayStation 5 is very apparent over Series X. I do hope to see a patch soon to bring that in line with the PlayStation 5. The Series S is impacted the most though due to all the cutbacks, which include shadow quality, filtering and ambient occlusion. Although not massive, it can add up at times to a big difference in certain sections and those real-time cinematics. Starting with quality mode, as per the PlayStation 5, it is largely a locked and stable readout on Series X. Also, the game does a solid job of keeping a consistent frame delivery cadence almost all the time, providing a stable and tear-free presentation. It can drop a few frames during combat menus, autosaves and streaming, along with some heavier sections such as Act 3's City, but the target is hit often enough to never be of concern. Performance mode though is where things can be very different, and patches have come and we see increases across all formats. Act 3 is better than the last time we covered it, with the PlayStation 5 previously averaging only 30fps during a stroll in the town centre. Now we at least hover into the 50s, with an average now into the high 30s, and this is enough to beat the Series X in like-for-like runs here. The PlayStation 5 can be between 8 and 10 FPS higher, mostly down to data streaming and memory related moments, but on average it is around 10 to 12% faster in the most stressful sections in Act 3's Baldur's Gate. However, both consoles and PC suffer in this section, with them bouncing between 30 and 50 FPS with constant tearing. Neither makes a perfect run of it. It is, however, better than that launch code. As before, in this section only, I recommend the quality mode, or if you can get VRR to work and remove the tearing, then that is the preferred option in that performance mode. Outside of this though, the game holds the line very well, with a largely smooth 60fps readout on both, with only real-time cutscenes or some dense areas causing dips and tearing. Again, the PlayStation 5 is better most of the time when it dips, but the gap is far smaller, as both remain close enough to the 16ms frame time to feel very smooth, and remain as the preferred mode to play on both, as the IQ can be slightly better at times and the improved fluidity helps the look and feel more often than not. Act 3 notwithstanding.
By the nine hells, open the gates!
Series S has made some reductions, but the output reinforces they were the correct ones, as we see an equally stable 30 FPS readout. Even in the infamous Act 3, we maintain a smooth and consistent 33 millisecond delivery most of the time, and this certainly helps the impression of the Series S version. Again, a few single drops can arise, and some very dense areas may cause a few sub 30 FPS moments, but nothing here should trouble most, and the results are much better than feared by and large. The missing piece on the Series S is that split screen mode, which is present on PS5 and Series X, and here the game locks to the quality mode and offers a full 1440p native image that is split down the center for a 1280 by 1440p image per player. The result is a clean and stable 30 FPS readout again most of the time across wooded areas, castle grounds, and even Baldur's Gate City itself. It can, however, drop some frames when large views occupy both screens and streaming in new data. As both players can split up as much as they wish, this does put a huge strain on the hardware and memory demands, and as such you can still see dips on both into the mid-20s. But again, the PlayStation 5 takes the lead here when they arise, and we can see a decent 5 to 10% advantage at points, but on average they're only around 1% delta. It is, however, largely academic, as in the majority of play they both present a smooth and crisp split screen option without having to reach down for your dice each and every turn. I noted on my PS5 review that the team did not utilise the PS5 I/O hardware as well as should be expected, and like performance, the team have worked to better align their engine and data demands to the PS5 hardware and API. Loading is now significantly faster than before, with it being over a minute faster at the longest load I could find compared to Series X and S, bringing it closer to the expectations of the machine. Now this is likely why we see performance increased, as the CPU is now doing less of the data management and being used for gameplay. This means the majority of issues we see on all consoles are likely related to those CPU areas, and as the Series X has much higher resolution and quality assets than Series S at a higher resolution and performance rate, we can see the CPU gap opening up. Again, this is likely an area the team can work on with future patches to better utilise the Series X hardware to reduce that gap and increase loading, just as we saw with the PS5. Xbox players may have had to wait, but the wait was worth it. The game remains as dense, dynamic, and engaging as before. I am happy Microsoft made the correct choice to allow the team to remove split screen, so more players can enjoy this monster hit. Whether you're a naughty elf or a horny devil, Baldur's Gate 3 has something for everyone, and it rounds out a packed 2023 for our gaming library. And that's it for another performance review and 2023 as a whole. Remember, we are back on the other side in 2024 as we ramp up once again for more technical deep dives, performance comparisons, and all things video game related. Until then, keep it IGN, and we'll catch you on the next one.